Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let me tell you short story of a man who stole bush baby mat. Carry your popcorn, let's go. In the heart of Oguta village, surrounded by thick forest and ancient trees, lived a boy named Obina. He was no more than 22, yet he was richer than the king himself. His mansion stood tall with golden gates and sparkling tiles, foreign cars lined his compound, and servants called him sir. No one could explain how Obina, once a poor orphan, had risen to such dizzying heights of wealth. The villagers whispered, especially the women. Every girl in Oguta wanted to marry him. They brought him food, danced around his compound during festivals, and even pretended to faint near his gate just so he'd notice them. But Obina remained quiet and distant, his eyes always heavy, his smile thin and brief. The elders grew suspicious. How can a boy with no known trait surpass the king in wealth? They would ask during meetings. But no one could answer. Obina never traveled to the city. He never farmed. He just lived and prospered. But there was one thing that didn't go unnoticed. Every month's end, as the moon reached its fullest, Obina disappeared. 3 days. Always 3 days. No one saw him. His house would be locked, and then he would return, fresher, richer, like he had just returned from paradise. One day, a hunter named Dyke, curious and brave, decided to follow Obina. He trailed him into the deep forest, past the normal hunting zones, into forbidden grounds that elders warned young ones never to enter. For hours he crawled behind, heart pounding, until he reached a clearing. And there, he saw it. Obina was seated before a tiny creature, barely 2 feet tall, hairy, with glowing eyes and long fingers. It was an EGBERE, the dreaded bush baby, a gnome-like spirit of the forest, known in legends for carrying a mat of wealth. It was said that whoever could steal EGBERE's mat and not die from madness or misfortune, would gain untold riches. Obina wasn't stealing the mat this time, he was returning it. Carefully. Respectfully. Then, he knelt and begged. Please, let me hold it again. Let me carry it for 3 more days. EGBERE hissed, then smiled a wicked smile. 3 days, Obina. But the price is still the same. Your soul, when the time comes, will be mine. Obina nodded, tears in his eyes, but took the mat. And as he touched it, gold coins burst from the earth, and foreign currencies rained from the trees. Dyke fled, never speaking a word of what he saw. His hair turned grey the next day, and his tongue stammered whenever he tried to speak of it. Meanwhile, Obina continued living like a god among men. But sometimes, at night, when the moon was full, villagers claimed to hear his screams echoing from the edge of the forest, like someone who was trying to escape a deal that could never be undone. Days turned into weeks, and Obina's wealth grew even more obscene. He bought more land, sent emissaries to distant lands, and even hired white men to construct a glass house in the middle of Oguta. People no longer saw him as a boy, they called him the Golden Son. Mothers prayed their daughters would catch his eye. The king, though smiling, burned with envy. But Obina knew something no one else did. The mat paused. He hid it beneath the floors of his room, wrapped in goat skin and sealed with charms. But at night, he could hear it calling. Whispering his name. Crying softly like a baby. Begging to be returned. Obina ignored it. At the next month's end, he was meant to return the mat. EGBERE would be waiting in the forest clearing as always. But this time, Obina didn't go. He sat in his mansion, staring at the mat, his hands trembling. I can't return it. Not yet, he whispered. The people worship me. The king bows to me. If I return it, I'll go back to being nothing. So he stayed. And he refused. That night, the wind changed. Dogs barked in terror. The air turned ice cold. The trees outside his mansion bent unnaturally, their leaves shrieking instead of rustling. Then, the whispering began. From the shadows of the forest, the villagers heard it. A child's cry, but wrong, layered, distorted, echoing endlessly. And before long, people began to see it. A short, hairy creature, with glowing red eyes and long fingers, walked the streets of Oguta. It didn't speak. It didn't attack. It only wandered, slowly, searching. Looking for its mat. Those who saw it froze in terror. A woman fainted. A child lost the use of his legs after locking eyes with it. And every night, it got closer to Obina's mansion. Obina stopped sleeping. He couldn't eat. He began to lose weight. But he still refused to return the mat. "I've come too far," he muttered. "Let it chase me if it must. I am Obina. I fear no dwarf." But one night, on the 7th month of betrayal, Egbere came. Not into the streets, but into Obina's room. The doors didn't open. The windows didn't creak. But there it was, sitting on the edge of his bed, smiling, its claws reaching for the mud beneath the floorboards. "You broke the deal," it said softly. "Now, you'll keep the mat, and I'll keep your mind." Obina screamed. His guards ran in, but saw no creature. Just Obina, naked, rolling on the ground, laughing and crying at the same time. He tore at his skin, shouted strange proverbs, and spoke in voices that weren't his own. From that day, Obina was mad. They tried everything. Babulawos came from across the rivers. Priests prayed. Prophets fasted. Foreign doctors ran tests. But nothing worked. He was chained under a mango tree in his compound, laughing by day, wailing by night. When asked who he was, he'd whisper, "I am Egbere's son now, and the mat will never leave me." The mat was never found. But his mansion crumbled, his cars rusted, and the gold he once shared turned to ash in people's hands. And so, Oguta learned a lesson that would never be forgotten. Never ask too many questions about sudden wealth. And never steal from a spirit who gives with one hand and collects with the other.